Okay, we're back for quiz number 33. Just give a big the shout outs first. These are all the big hitters that's doing well. There's Andre, there's Dawn and John, Josie and Bill, Steve and Rita, Jean and Davey, Carlin and Brian, Jerry Smith starting doing them too, and Billy Graham Margaret, who Billy got one of the few ones that got the connection last week. I thought the connection was a hard one. I think Billy will definitely get this connection, and one or two years might. So I don't think it's as difficult as last week's. I just looked on the wee thing. I've got 10 subscribers. I thought that was great having 10 subscribers. Said to Bradley, I've got 10 subscribers. He's got this wee list, and all the big YouTubers is hitting them. He laughed and said 20. I asked him, am I on that list yet? But no, you have to have 20 million or 20 and 30 and 50 million subscribers and all. But get there, I'll get there. Right, we're going to start off for round one. We're going to keep a connections round till not round one. So you never know which one's going to be the connection round. Number one. What does USB stand for in computing? USB. Okay. That comes up regularly in a wee quiz, and sometimes in wee quizzes. USB. Some good scores from last week. We're going to have a good wee quiz team. Next time these quizzes open and there's wee charity quizzes on, we'll maybe get a good wee team together. Number two. Which boxer, we're talking heavyweight here, which boxer fought Spider Rico, Mason Dixon and Tommy Gunn at heavyweight? So which boxer fought Spider Rico, Mason Dixon and Tommy Gunn at heavyweight? Number three. Who writes crime novels under the pseudonym name, is that a pen name? Under the pen name Robert Galbraith. Who writes crime novels under the pen name Robert Galbraith? I think Billy will get that one. Number four. What's the largest country that the Tropic of Capricorn passes through? Or passes? Okay, so what's the largest country that the Tropic of Capricorn passes? Number five. A scalene triangle has how many equal sides? A scalene triangle has how many equal sides? Number six. What does an anemometer measure? An anemometer? Anemometer measure? A-N-E-M-O-M-E-T-E-R, anemometer. Here's a tough one, but there's one of these ones if you're ever on Millionaire and you get up there and your last question, it could be a big payout. It's good to know these things come across easy, even though you might think it's hard. It's good to know. It's a tough one, didn't know this one. SOS, remember the distress signal SOS? And the ships and all, Titanic sent out an SOS and all. But before that, them times, which distress signal in the early days of radio? Remember Marconi? This is when Marconi just invented the radio. There was a distress signal in the manuals, shipping manuals, and the shipping they give a distress signal. So what was it? I was on the radio, and I'll give you a clue. It was 3 letters. It wasn't the SOS, but it was 3 letters. So what was the distress signal? Which distress signal in the early days of radio was eventually surpassed by SOS? So what was it before SOS? It came out in 1903, and as is free Marconi and all, 1903, and the manual for shipping manuals in it. Okay, number 8. Wee gimme for you all here. In which pantomime would you find Widow Twankey? In which pantomime would you find Widow Twankey? Okay, I'm going to give you answers here. So if you want to rewind that and stop and go back, I'm going to give you the answers. So pause it here and come back to me for the answers. So here we go. Round one. Number one. What does USB stand for in computing? Universal Serial Bus. Which boxer fought Spider Rico? What was his first fight? Spider Rico. Well, first fight you see. Mason Dixon and Tommy Gunn. At heavyweight it was Rocky Balboa. Rocky. Who writes crime novels under the pen name Robert Galbraith? J.K. Rowling. And what's the largest country that the Tropic of Capricorn passes? It's Brazil. A scale-line triangle has how many equal sides? Hasn't got any, none. And what does an anemometer measure? Wind speed, not the big sock thing. Wind speed. Which distress signal in the early days of radio was eventually surpassed by SOS. CQD. CQD. Don't know what it stands for. And which pantomime would you find Widow Twinkle? Aladdin. Okay, we're going to move on to round two. Hope you like this quiz because it was stuck together from yesterday. Just it was done it, some of it in work last night and some of it yesterday morning, a wee bit this morning. So round two, is this a connection round? Who in 1984 became the only pair to win Sports Personality of the Year? Who in 1984 became the only pair to win Sports Personality of the Year? Number two, the Beehive is the nickname of which country's parliament building? The Beehive is the nickname of which country's parliament building? Number three, who is the only English team to have played in the Scottish League? Who is the only English team to have played in the Scottish League? And number four, Bacchus is the Roman god of what? Bacchus is the Roman god of what? Number five, The Day of the Jackal was a book and film about a plan to assassinate who? The Day of the Jackal was a book and a film about a plan to assassinate who? Number six, if ozone is O2, what is O3? Okay, if oxygen is O2, what is O3? Here's one for you. L.S. Laurie, know the wee matchstick man paintings? L.S. Laurie's painting called Going to the Match shows football fans heading to the ground of which team? In L.S. Laurie's painting Going to the Match, it shows football fans going to which football ground? So which team is it? What's the name of the team? Here's one. I didn't read it, but I've seen it as a film too, and I didn't really see it till about 3 years ago. Now I've seen it twice. It's a good film. I enjoyed it. Didn't think I would enjoy it, but it's good. Which fictional character was imprisoned in the Chateau d'If, a grim island fortress off Marseille? Okay, so which fictional character was imprisoned in the Chateau d'If, a grim island fortress off Marseille? Enjoyed that wee film. Right, I'm going to give you the answers, right? So, pause it. I'll move on with the answers here. Who in 1984 became the only pair to win Sports Personality of the Year? So you've got Torval and Dean. The Beehive is the nickname of which country's parliament building? New Zealand. Who is the only English team to have played in the Scottish League? Berwick Rangers. 4. Bacchus is the Roman god of what? Wine. The Daily Jackal was a book and film about a plan to assassinate who? Charles de Gaulle. 6. If oxygen is O2, what is O3? Ozone. And L.S. Laurie's painting Going to the Match shows football fans heading to the ground of which team? It's not Man United or Man City, it's Bolton Wanderers. And which fictional character was imprisoned in the Chateau d'If, a grim island fortress off Marseille? It was the Count of Monte Cristo. Round 3. We're at 11 minutes. Okay, general knowledge, round 3. In World War I, what sort of bomb was the Mills bomb? In World War I, what sort of bomb was the Mills bomb? Number 2. In World War II, where were the British codebreakers based? Okay, in World War II, where were the British codebreakers based? They were trying to break the Enigma code and all, and where were they based? Number 3. Which facial feature is missing from the Sphinx? The statue in Egypt, the Sphinx. Which facial feature is missing from the Sphinx? Number 4. What jewellery is worn by a girl painted by Jan Vermeer? What type of jewellery is worn by a girl painted by Jan Vermeer? Number 5. Clement Clarke Moore published a poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. How is this poem better known? Okay, so Clement Clarke Moore published a poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. How is this poem better known? Number 6. Which river is crossed by the Clifton Suspension Bridge? Which river is crossed by the Clifton Suspension Bridge? Okay, number 7. In which Shakespeare play do we hear about Yorick? In which Shakespeare play do we hear about Yorick? Number 8. What beer had an advertising slogan? Claim on TV that it worked wonders. What beer had an advertising claim on TV that it worked wonders? Right, pause it if you want to go back. I'm going to give you the answers out for about the 13 minutes. Number 1. In World War I, what sort of bomb was the Mills bomb? It was a hand grenade. In World War II, where were the British codebreakers based? They were in Bletchley Park. Which facial feature is missing from the Sphinx? The nose. What jewellery is worn by a girl painted by Jan Vermeer? A pearl earring. Give you an earring. Pearl earring. Clement Clarke Moore published a poem in a visit called A Visit from St. Nicholas. How is it better known? It was The Night Before Christmas. And which river is crossed by the Clifton Suspension Bridge? The Avon. In which Shakespeare play do we hear about Yorick? Hamlet. And what beer had an advertising claim on TV that it worked wonders? That was Double Diamond. Double Diamond. All them scores up. We're going to go on to the music round. Could this be the connection? The music round. Now I've tried to bring them back a bit so everybody Well, Andre doesn't like the older music stuff. He'd probably like the 90s and the 2000s, but I think it's a good wee round. I like this wee round myself. Number 1, Big D. Irwin had a hit in 1963. What was it? Big D. Irwin had a big hit in 1963. What was it? Number 2, which song contains the line, "She'll promise you more than the Garden of Eden"? Then she'll carelessly cut you and laugh while you're bleeding. What song's that? She'll promise you more than the Garden of Eden, then carelessly cut you and laugh while you're bleeding. And here you're all singing it here. Number 3. What has the song Virginia Plain by Roxy Music and Up the Junction by Squeeze have in common? What has the song Virginia Plain by Roxy Music and Up the Junction by Squeeze have in common? Number 4. Which family sang along with Johnny Cash on a lot of his songs? Okay, so which family sang along with Johnny Cash on a lot of his songs? Number 5. What's the hymn? Is it 16? Gracie Fields died in 1979. What town was she born? Okay, Gracie Fields died in 1979, but what town was Gracie Fields born? I've got a statue of her in the town. Here's a lyric from a song from the 60s, a line. I want you to tell me what the song was. Lonely nights without sleeping, while I longed for your touch. Lonely nights without sleeping, while I longed for your touch. What song's that? Number 7. Hello. That's the name of a group. Hello. That's the 70s. Had 2 top 10 hits. One in 74 called Tell 'Em. What was their other top 10 of 1975? Okay, Hello, I like that wee group. Hello had 2 top 10 hits, one in 74 called Tell 'Em. What was their top 10 hit of 1975? The group Hello. Number 8. Which 60s anti-war protest song had the lyrics, "You're old enough to kill, but not for voting"? Which 60s anti-war protest song had the lyrics, "You're old enough to kill, but not for voting"? It was protesting against Vietnam War and all that. Okay. Get your answers in. And I'm going to call out the answers now. Okay. Big D. Irwin had a big hit in 1963. What was it? Swinging on a Star. We duet with Little Eva. Swinging on a Star. Which song contains the line, "She'll promise you more than the Garden of Eden, then carelessly cut you and laugh while you're bleeding"? It was Always a Woman. Never forgot it there. Always a Woman to Me by Billy Joel. What has the song Virginia Plain by Roxy Music and Squeeze Up the Junction got in common? You only hear the title of the song in the last word. Okay, you only hear what's her name? Virginia Plain and Up the Junction. They're the last words of the song. Which family sang along with Johnny Cash on a lot of his songs? The Carter family. June Carter and all her family. The Carter family. Gracie Fields died in 1979. What town was she born? She was born in Rochdale. And when I was looking into it, she was also the highest paid actress in the world. In 1937, Gracie Fields was the highest paid actress in the world in 1937. Lonely Nights Without Sleeping, While I Long for Your Touch. It's a World of Our Own by the Seekers. Hello had 2 top 10 hits. One in 74 called Tell 'Em. What was a top 10 hit in 75? The New York Groove. The New York Groove. And mid-60s anti-war protest song had the lyrics, You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. It was Barry Maguire, Eve of Destruction. Okay, so you've worked out by now, the last round is the lyrics round. The Connections. The Connections round's coming up now. So hopefully some of you will be in the 20s by now. Early 20s. High teens maybe. Okay, connection round. Which queen killed herself with an asp? Which queen killed herself with an asp? Sometimes you're better writing these connections down and you can look at them and see if you can see anything. Number 2. Who was known as the Lady of the Lamp? Who was known as the Lady of the Lamp? Number 3. What was the name of the lead character in films Funeral in Berlin and the Ipcress File? So I'm not looking for the actor, I'm looking for the character, the lead character's name in the Funeral in Berlin and the Ipcress File. Number 4. Which artist painted the Haywain? Which artist painted the Haywain? Number 5. Born in 1491, who was the second son of Henry VII? Born in 1491, who was the second son of Henry VII? Number 6. Who set sail in 1492 in the Santa Maria? Who set sail in 1492 in the Santa Maria? Okay, number 7. What is the name of the now London radio presenter who won Mastermind in the early 80s while doing a completely different job? So what is the name of the now London radio presenter who won Mastermind in the early 80s while doing a completely different job? Number 8. What's a connection? Okay, I'm going to give you the answers here. So, maybe pause it, go back, go over some of them if you haven't wrote them down and see if you can get the connection. 23 minutes, we're running a minute later. So, which queen killed herself with an asp? It was Cleopatra, who was known as the Lady of the Lamp, Florence Nightingale. And what was the name of the lead character in the films Funeral in Berlin and the Ipcress File? Harry Palmer. Which artist painted the Haywain? It was John Constable. Born in 1491, who was a second son of Henry VII? It was Henry VIII. Who set sail in 1492 in the Santa Maria? Christopher Columbus. And what is the name of the now London radio presenter who won Mastermind in the early 80s while doing a completely different job? It wasn't your man up at Church Spires, it was Fred Housego. Fred Housego. And the connection, right, we've got Cleopatra, Cleo for short. The Lady of the Lamp, Florence Nightingale, who was a nurse. Number 3, Harry Palmer, who was a spy. We've got John Constable, which was a policeman, constable. We've got Henry VIII, Christopher Columbus, and Fred Housego was a cabby. He was a taxi driver, a cabby. So they were Carry On films, Carry On Cleo, Carry On Nurse, Carry On Spy, Carry On Constable, Carry On Henry, Carry On Columbus, and Carry On Cabby. So they were all Carry On films. So let me know how you've done there, and I hope you enjoyed that one. It was a sleep together writing quick because only a lot of stuff to do during the week. I was working and all, and I didn't get much time. So have a nice weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Let me know how you've done.